and welcome back to my channel. My name is Crystal and today I'm going to be talking on a topic of emotions and learning how to control your emotions. So we all know everyone has emotions. We might have positive emotions or negative emotions. Negative emotions is what I'm focusing on right now, and being able to know what triggers those emotions and how to control those emotions so it doesn't overpower you and control you. One thing I'm going to say is that if your emotions are triggered, it's because whatever triggered your emotion bypasses your reasoning brain or your frontal lobe and goes straight to your center brain. The center brain is considered like the subconscious mind. So there are certain subconscious triggers that we all have, and once your subconscious is triggered without you consciously processing that information, if it's a negative trigger, you can react and respond aggressively or in a manner that later on when you calm down you would feel terrible about, and you'll be like, why did I do that? Why did I act so badly? Like, did I have to behave like that? You would have to ask yourself that. And the reason you ask yourself that is because you weren't in control. Your subconscious mind actually took over and reacted based on those let's say past traumas or whatever you have buried in the subconscious mind that you are not even aware of. So there's many things that can trigger these emotions. But if in the moment of your trigger, like let's say for example, road rage. Let's say you're driving and someone cuts you across in the road, right? And then you get angry and you start shouting at a person and you start saying obscene things and you're so mad and you're steaming. Ask yourself, why are you so angry? The person cut you off, but they already left and they're on their way. Maybe they were in a hurry. Maybe their wife is in labor and they had to rush to the hospital, right? But you're there angry, and an incident that took like a split second, hours later, you're still pissed off. Like you're having a bad day and you're still replaying that in your mind and cursing that driver out in your mind. So you see how these things happen. So it's like something triggered a negative emotion in you and it made you upset and you blame the driver, but really did the driver do you anything? Is there any reason for you to be that angry? You need to ask yourself that. And even for myself, sometimes when I get angry or upset about something that pisses me off, I have to ask myself, I'm like, Crystal, is it really that serious? Like, is this worth me spoiling my whole day just reiterating this incident and playing it over and over and over and over in my mind and creating more negative domino effect in my life, because now I'm projecting this negative situation back onto my subconscious, so it's then going to start replaying more negative situations into my life. So what I'm saying is that pay attention whenever you get triggered, whatever it may be, whether it's anger, whether it's jealousy. Maybe you see someone with something that you wish you had, and instead of saying, oh, I would love to have something like that, you get jealous and envious and like, why does she have that and I don't have it? Like, ask yourself, why would you think like that? What is making you think like that? Like, really sit and ask yourself and see if you can get to the bottom of it and really address it. And one thing I've noticed is that asking myself, why am I upset? Why am I angry? Why am I hurt? Why am I sad? Like, asking yourself these questions really puts your mind to work, and actually by the end of it you realize there's no reason for you to be upset. Like, there's absolutely no reason. So why are you upset? And there's also the important thing of understanding how to do your inner work. So basically, like I was saying, there are certain subconscious triggers that we have. It can cause anxiety, it can cause fear, it can cause anger. But in order for you to really find out what it is, then you're going to have to do the inner work in terms of going back into your past, figuring out what upset you, what is it that happened to you in the past that left a scar so deep in your subconscious that now the slightest thing or slightest reaction from someone else can trigger an emotion in you that you have absolutely no control over. Because that's what actually happens. That emotional scar that's left on the subconscious, it takes on a life of its own whenever it's triggered, because it's like a self-defense mechanism. So maybe at the time when you were hurt, you weren't able to protect yourself. So in your subconscious mind, you created this defense mechanism that is now has a life of its own and can take over whenever it likes without your permission. But either you can do the inner work and try and rectify that problem, or whenever that part of you comes up, you need to identify it. Like really ask yourself. Even for me, sometime before you get like upset, it's like a pot of water coming to a boil. Like you start feeling a certain way and then you're like, okay, let me just not think, and then it reaches that point where you just explode, and then your subconscious takes over, and then you say certain things, you act in a way that you would later regret. But if you can even identify that you're being triggered from the early stage before it actually explodes, and ask yourself, why am I upset? What about this situation is making me upset? Do I really need to be upset? And think about certain things. Like for me, if someone is like maybe being rude, or someone did something that for me wasn't nice, instead of allowing myself to get upset and blaming that person, I ask myself, I say, maybe that person is just having a bad day, and me getting upset is just going to make it worse for that person. Like, would being upset solve the problem that's actually happening right now? Is there another way for me to handle this situation without getting upset? And even like the incident with the road rage, like if you tell yourself like maybe that person is having a bad day, maybe they're on their way to the hospital, they have a medical emergency, so they're just rushing, they're not using their logic, like if you add stories to these situations and make those stories be like, okay, I'll let them pass, I won't get upset because maybe this person X or Y or Z is going on with them, so I won't blow up at them and make their day worse. Because like I said, you're actually creating a chain reaction. Maybe the reality might be that person is actually having a bad day. Maybe their negative energy is being projected out, and you end up getting caught up into their reality, and then they're projecting that. Their subconscious now brought you into that person's reality, and you're caught up in this because you're now playing a part in that person having a bad day. Because remember, if someone is creating in their mind a negative experience, the universe is going to bring people into their experience to help create that experience for them. So maybe that's what happened to you. You're caught up in someone else's projection of a bad experience, and by you now reacting to that person, you're going to end up forming a negative situation in your head that you're going to later project to someone else, and then you end up leaving having a bad day as well, and then you're going to get an argument with someone else, and it's like a chain reaction. And this is what usually happens. You get caught up in someone else's reality, you take that energy because you fed off of that energy, you become upset because you didn't pay attention to your trigger, so your subconscious reacted to that person, and now you're having a bad day, and you're now creating situations and scenarios in your head because of that incident, and now you're going to end up having like a domino effect where you're creating more of that negative situations in your life. And this can actually happen either instantly, or it can even progress, because like, okay, you have a bad day today, and you ponder on it, you play it over in your head over and over, and maybe the rest of the day nothing happened. But you now have impressed in your subconscious mind a negative situation over and over and over all day. You meditated on that with so much emotions and energy that maybe the next day something bad is going to happen to you, something that's going to spiral again, right? So because remember, this is how the subconscious and the universe works. You impress situations and circumstances into your subconscious, and it feeds it back to you in the form of your reality or your universe. Alright, so that's why it's so important. Like for me, I always try to pay attention to whenever I feel triggered, or I feel like my emotions is getting the better of me. Like I always try to focus and try to get a grip on it before it gets out of control, because once that happens and you lose control, everything else is like a domino effect. And in terms of like anxiety and stuff, if you have certain triggers that triggers anxiety, I remember I used to have really bad anxiety growing up. Like it was so terrible. I would have the bad panic attacks where I feel like my heart is beating so fast I can't breathe, I feel like I'm going to faint. Like it was really bad, and I never understood what my triggers were. And later on I realized that it had to do with my upbringing and certain things, and I did the inner work and was able to overcome those. But even now there are certain things that triggers my anxiety, and one of it is like when people are having arguments around me, or if someone is upset with me, I automatically get triggered and I start feeling panic attacks coming on. If you grow up in maybe a household or community where people fight a lot, or there were arguments, or you always feel like you're never good enough, or like you could not never do anything that's pleasing enough, like those things, it causes certain triggers in you. And then when you see it, when you experience it even as an adult, it will trigger certain emotions, and anxiety and stuff is also part of that. So that's all I have to say for you guys. I hope that I was able to get my message across to you guys. I appreciate you all so very much. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. And thank you guys so much for supporting me. Bye.